Rape, arson, threats and deaths. Manipur violence has sent shockers down everyone's spine since ethnic violence engulfed the state over 4 months ago, on the 3rd of May to be exact. Now, in the past 6 days since the monsoon parliament session has started, we have been witnessing a political logjam with regards to the situation in Manipur. The opposition continues to urge the Prime Minister to give a response on this matter. Meanwhile, Home Minister Amit Shah continues to insinuate that BJP is ready to engage in as many conversations and discussions as the opposition wishes to hold. Amidst all of this chaos and netabazi, NewsX takes a moment to highlight the Janta's view on this concerning news. We will take a look at some of the results of a poll that we conducted. But first up, I'm also going to introduce the people who are going to be talking to us throughout the next 30 minutes. Wing Commander Sudhakar Ji, VSM veteran, geopolitical and defense expert, joins us on the show. Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Global and Strategic Affairs expert, also with us on the program. Mr. P.K.D. Nambiar, political analyst, is with us on the show as well. And last but not the least, Vicky Saha, political analyst, joins us on the show as well. I'm going to go to the big wall and actually show you what were the questions that we put forth and what was the response that we got in Statistically Speaking. This is obviously to do with Manipur and the impasse that we have witnessed in the parliament so far. Of course, the first question is, amidst the ruckus in parliament on Manipur crisis, who is running away from the debate? Well, as you can see, majority of the people went on to say that it is the opposition, a marginal difference though, but the government also was not lacking far behind. 45.03% and 45.90%. Less than a percent of a difference between what people actually thought is going on over here. The government, they feel, is running away from the Manipur debate. And of course, a number of you also feel that it's the opposition that is avoiding this debate. They just want to, in fact, stall proceedings, do not let the government work, and basically create this ruckus so that no bills can't be passed and the government feels embarrassed. It's a ploy, it's a tactic that has been employed in the past as well. Moving on to our second question, when we of course wanted to ask the Janta where do they stand on this entire issue. Moving on to our second question, which is, should the opposition end its impasse in the parliament after Home Minister's appeal? Well, whopping 72.95% went on to say yes. 21.29% of the people said no. Of course, the Home Minister made it categorically clear that if you want to have a conversation, we are going to sit down with you and have a conversation, but let the parliament function. And folks, this is not the first time that such ruckus has been seen. Sanjay Singh, the Aam Aadmi Party Rajya Sabha member of Parliament, has been thrown out for the rest of the monsoon session. We also saw Derek O'Brien today run up to the well of the House. What, according to you, is the reason behind Manipur violence? A complicated question. Of course, A is the Kuki-Meti conflict. 11% of the people feel that it's the violence between them that has led to this unrest. A whopping 52% people feel that this is the state government's incompetence. The opposition has alleged that the union government has changed chief ministers right before elections for non-performance. Then why is Biren Singh still holding his position? C, Rohingya Bangladeshi immigrants. Of course, there is a porous border between the state of Manipur and there is a lot of activity which goes through, and that could be another reason for us to surmise and conjecture that these problems could be from the outside as well. 7.5% of course felt none of the above. 5% of the people were not very sure. So it's the state government's incompetence which has led to these problems that we see in Manipur so far. I'm going to take my first question from Jal Dwivedi. But before that, we have one more question that we have to answer. Does Rahul Gandhi, who attacks the government on Manipur, become quiet when it comes to crimes against women in Bengal and Rajasthan? A whopping 60% of the people said yes, Rahul Gandhi is quiet about what happens in Punjab, Bengal and Rajasthan as well. 32% of the people felt that no, he does voice his opinion. But of course, Bengal has also been simmering with violence and crimes against women. Jal Dwivedi, sir, I'm going to come to you. Well, what do you make of this logjam that exists in the parliament today? The more important point here is whether this is going to lead to any kind of a consensus within the opposition that is showing some sort of a combined and a unified effort to take on the union government. Is Manipur going to be the defining factor that is going to separate the wheat from the chaff when 2024 comes?
Well, Vineet, first and foremost, being a veteran who has done multiple tenures in Northeast and commanded a division in Manipur, I am going to give you more realistic picture for you and the viewers, and then they can make up and they can decide the politics part of it. But I am going to give you the ground situation as it prevails now, and then come to the political part. First and foremost, Northeast is a complicated region, and Manipur is very complex. It has the inherent fault lines, ethnic, geographic, the border, porous border, China factor, all combined. And it's not the first time that Manipur has been on the boil. It has a history, 1993, ethnic, 1997, and 2004 when I went and took over the division, 50% of Manipur was under the militants, and it took 18 months to clean it out. So therefore, Manipur has a history of going into the spin off and on. Current situation, because I keep in close in touch and I was also advisor to Manipur University for quite some time. The current situation is it cannot be compared to any other state because Manipur is in a civil war. The villages have been fortified. The common villagers have weapons, about 5 to 6,000, and it is almost like one, ethnic armed community facing the other. And for last 3 months, we had this situation on, but why it has reached such a boiling point? Well, that's where comes the political side. First and foremost, I think the state government has not played up and has not risen to handle the situation. They have underplayed it, and possibly they also have been partisan. They also have been favoring one against the other. And that's why the current dispensation has lost its credibility. Secondly, you cannot absolve the center. After all, center have been watching this for the last 3 months almost, and they have the same central government and the same government, BJP government. They have not come out very heavy-handedly to handle the situation. They also let the situation burn. And let me now tell you that this issue is not only restricted to Manipur. The fire is spreading all along the other states, and very soon you'll find whole Northeast will be in inferno. And more than that, they across the border, these states like Chin, Kachin, all these have lot of deep linkages with the cookies and the Zomis on the other side. And China is watching very closely because Myanmar have been sinicized. In fact, I have traveled in Myanmar a couple of times. Places like Mandalay, places like Namtu, they are all more like China than Myanmar. So therefore, the China-Myanmar economic corridor is another worry. So in nutshell, what I want to bring out, the situation is not law and order, situation is not internal security, situation is national security. And it's a time that political parties bury the differences and the central government, and I think Prime Minister must come out and make a very clear explanation as to why this situation has reached such a point and what the government intends to do to retrieve this situation. If this type of logjam continues, I can say with conviction that very shortly whole Northeast will be in the flames and we will not be able to control this situation. Vineet.
That's quite a thing to say, sir. That's quite a thing to say. General Sudhakarji, I'm stunned by what General Dwivedi has said. Do you concur that if something drastic is not done in Manipur, then the entire Northeast is perhaps going to feel the ripple effect? And is the government doing enough? According to General Dwivedi, it's not.
Vineet, thank you for getting me to your show, and compliments to General Dwivedi, who better than him, who's got hands-on experience and he's an authority on the subject. From my side, in order to respond to your question, I fully concur to what you have alluded in your question, as also I fully endorse to General Dwivedi's articulations. But let me, in the same breath, caution the national leadership that it's much more beyond what is actually visible to our naked eye. And things are dangerously building up. Do not look at Manipur in isolation. I have been showing a book through the camera in the NewsX channel as also other channels. It's about the great game East and India, China, and the struggle for the Asia's most volatile frontier quite often. But let me just put things in the perspective. When I say don't look at Manipur in isolation, very quick points that the entire Northeast, including Sikkim, all 8 sisters of Northeast are totally encircled. One thing is that India is encircled strategically by China, by our immediate neighborhood. But when you look at the Northeastern states, post 2017, yes, we stalemated that aggressive design of China at Doklam, but consequent to that, 9 kilometers east of the point where we had actually stopped the Chinese or the PLA, they have developed yet another road meandering across Pangda village and climbing up to the same Jampheri Ridge. So what is so important at Jampheri Ridge? Is China doing it just for the fun's sake, or it means something serious or sinister? Siliguri corridor being what it is, with the narrowest point being 17 kilometers, it's very easy for any adversary to choke India's primary lines or arteries of communication into the northeastern state, number one. Number two, the land border laws having been put into place by China, as also the border villages 628 in different layers having effectively been put in place and connected with all kinds of means of livelihood, be it oil and gas, be it the renewable energy, be it the connectivity in terms of heliports or railway line. There is a railway line which is under construction. General Dwivedi will bear me out, coming right up to Nathula. And there are huge amounts of infrastructure development underway close to the border. So, and if you look at it from that perspective, very few of us know about one fact, that there is a conflict of interest when I was referring to the book, The Great Game East, between India and China. China, it wants to block India's designs of Act East policy, penetrate into the central or the Asian nations being central to the success of Indo-Pacific, and thereby have its influence on the Asian nations writ large, and the way it is going on, it will keep on developing, be it in terms of economy or PRI or any other thing. Last but not the least is that there is a design to actually isolate India along the east coast and in Bay of Bengal and keep a very tight vigil on the progress of all the developments taking place, be it the nuclear reactors or any kind of research on the space. The Cocos Island that I am talking of, 15 kilometers northeast of our Andaman Northern Island, it has been connected by pipeline, it has been connected by the optical fiber, it has got a surveillance system there, it has got airstrip coming up. So all these things put together, I think there is much more that meets the eye. If we have to factor in the Thailand issue, Vinay, Thailand is again going back in the way of Myanmar. Myanmar, the entire width, plus Thailand, is going to play a very hell against the national security of India if we do not take this as a wake-up call. Back to you, Vinay.
Okay. Vicky Saha, if you're there with us.
Yes, I am here.
What do you make of the situation? You know, we also asked about a comparative between what's happening in Bengal and what's happening in Manipur. You know, the BJP has always held very strong statements about the violence in West Bengal, but also reflect on what's become of, you know, their reputation when it comes to containing these violent episodes in Manipur.
Look, let me be very specific. The comparison between Bengal and Manipur, it cannot be done, boss, because very clearly I can say that the Bengal is having not at all big issues like Manipur is suffering from. Entire Manipur is burning, but the Bengal isn't burning. Entire Manipur, the villagers, the citizens of Manipur are in a very deep crisis. But in Bengal, there is no crisis of democracy, at least. You can tell some rumorative facts. You can tell up to some rumors that in the last election poll there was some mishap happened, and I'm agreeing totally that yes, there is something. There is a few spot where something was not good, not enough to be democratic. But in today's date, there is no outcome of that issue that the Bengal is not safe. The internet is going on. Any public can just say one thing, that if the public doesn't want, or the public doesn't liking the thing of our government or anyone, that person can take the help of internet. But in the Manipur, there is no freedom. In Bengal, I must say line that the Bengal and Manipur doesn't needs any comparison. We cannot compare, because the Manipur is right now, it's a living hell. The people of Manipur are living in a hell, but in Bengal, the people who are not supporters of TMC, they are not facing the same what the people of Manipur facing.
Okay. All right. PKD Nambiar, political analyst, also with us on the show. PKD, thank you for joining us. Is Manipur likely to become a flashpoint for the government and its popularity come the 2024 Lok Sabha elections?
Good evening, Vineet. I do agree to an extent, because since the background of Manipur and how the ethnicities is working there, and the China threat and etc., both the generals have really explained it very well. So I'm not going there. I would like to rather focus on the political aspect of it. Yes, there is no doubt that Manipur has been in a troubled state from the last couple of months, and this requires to have a strong intervention from the central government. And I have no doubt to believe that the central government is not acting there. So it may not be visible as the way we wanted to, or we may wanted the army to go and captive everybody and keep everything under custody and etc. That can be one of the way of looking at, but that may not be the real solution. And as the other gentlemen were talking about, that the Manipur issue is not started from today. In fact, today in the Twitter and etc., there is a video which is viral. That is the George Fernandez during the NDA one time, that the Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, giving an explanation about what is happening in Manipur and even some of the northeastern states that time. So the challenges of the northeastern states are not new, but yes, in the era of internet, or in the era of the social media, this may have happening in this level, maybe for the first time. And I have no doubt to say that this requires to be discussed in detail in the parliament. And at the end of the discussion, maybe either the home minister or the prime minister needs to reply, and the nation really want to know that what is the government is doing, what is the current situation. We don't even know the exact situation, what's happening in Manipur. It may have been contained, or it may have gone up. We don't know. So generally after 3 months and both the generals are there. So generally after 3 months, a country like India, I'm sure that it must have been contained into a great extent. But this really is going to be a challenge for the government. There is no doubt. But I think the strong government, and which is also led by like Narendra Modi, like a strong leader like him, they would have been really having a plan A, plan B, and plan C. And many people were talking about why this government has not been thrown out. But maybe at this hour, or maybe at this juncture, this may be the right way to have a strong government, the elected government, which is actually been elected only some time ago. they should be able to handle it better, maybe with the support from the center. That could be one of the reasons that they have not been asked to go, or otherwise any other things have been done. So, but I think the opposition is trying to use this or misuse this as an opportunity to score their political point. I believe that, as one of the generals said, that all the political parties should sit together, plan out and discuss the real issues of not only Manipur, maybe and the many other northeastern states like in Nagaland and in many other places where the different tribals can't look at each other. Those kind of a situation. There are terror groups which was very active some times ago. So, and a prime minister who has visited 50 times, not in the history of India in the last 70 years, all the prime minister put together has not gone. So I think telling that, oh, this government do not have any action plan in the place, or this government is not looking at the northeastern states well, may not be right, because I believe that this is the only government, Narendra Modi government is the only government which has given so much of an attention to the northeastern states. Every a minister has to go every month. There are multiple ministers are going to northeastern states in the last 9 years, and there is so much of focus on both in terms of infrastructure projects, so much of focus, and for the information of both the generals and all of you know that there is so much of infrastructure development in this part of our border also have been taken place in the last 9 years or maybe like 10 years. So I think we need to be cautious. We need to be aware, and we being a thriving democracy, you and me need to know what's happening to my sisters and brothers in Manipur. But whole thing, which if you really look at it, what is triggered is the old video of the two women, naked, and that video is the one which has shook the country, not at the current situation. So I think what happened about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, is really worrisome, and that the country needs to have an answer to it. But having said that, let's not forget that atrocities against the woman is not only happening in Manipur or in Nagaland or in Northeast, it happens everywhere. So I think we need to have a strong will, and I think this government do have it. Or maybe they may, the opposition should also be in the parliament. I was just telling a few minutes ago to another channel that either my way or highway attitude will not work. If you are serious about, and if you are serious about the Manipur, and if your concerns about the Manipur is true, it doesn't matter which rule you are going to discuss this. It doesn't matter that you are going to have a discussion on this topic for 1 hour, 2 hours, it's not 5 hours. It doesn't matter. The only thing is, at least let this be discussed in the parliament.
Okay.
And all the people from the government has been telling that, including the prime minister, that we are ready to discuss this. And I think the opposition should bend a little so that there is a discussion take place and you and me know what's happening in Manipur.
Exactly. That's a good perspective, PKT, that you've lent. It's obvious that the situation in Manipur as it stands today is not clear, but there was broadband which was restored in a lot of areas. So if anything untoward would have happened, it would have been reported by now.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.